Okay, let's go ahead and continue to look on a function editor. So I have right here create the cube. All what I need to do is just access our material editor. So we can access function editor. We can access multiple ways. Again, I'm just going through some parameters. And for example, right here, I want to go to, let's go procedural color switching, right click, edit functions. So we'll look on some colors in our function editor. And if you are first time watching this video from this collection, I would recommend you to go and check on a series where we're going an overview of the function editor in a Vue. It's a new node-based function editor. So if also we're looking on some how the nodes work and how they will connect together. So right here we have our colors, and let's just refresh a couple things. On the left side we have our input nodes. This is nodes which is provide information. On the middle we'll have it processing nodes, and it's a workflow. It's going from left to right, so you can see we connect, we pass parameter to our node, and our node can process the information they're receiving and keep on going, so on. And on the end we have our output parameters, which is reflect or showing us in render effect that is achieved. This is not always visible. It's maybe related to animations or to any other parameters, but right here is our parameters that we influence by our changing what we perform inside these manipulations with the data. We also have all these different type. We have a vector, which is a red. We can have a number, it's a blue, and color that representing by green. There also, if you remember, you can change between them. We'll look a little bit on this one, but you can change from one parameter to another. So it's have converters for this. As well, you can have some other parameters on the middle. You can see like right here, constant, which does not connect to any input because it is input by itself. And currently it's just constant that provide value of the 0. Some of those nodes does not require any input, and they will be output some specific information to us. So let's go ahead and look on some of the nodes we have. If you notice on the left screen, as remember, we have all of these nodes displaying. Also, I do like access context the menu by right click with your mouse, and you can see we have the same appear menu, so we have it exactly the same, and we can preview and access. So this is faster way accessing. But right now let's go to our left side so we can expand and look. We'll look on some input nodes before, and right here you can see that all these parameters and input nodes, again, they can be changed depend on what we're accessing. Do we accessing animations, lighting, materials, or form? They can be changed. All input as well as our output can change. Our noise is different type of the noise patterns. We also have a fractal, which based with the taken on noise and work with a fractal to creating all this. Color manipulation, text, filter, constant, and so on. What I want to do in this one, let's look on the filters. And the filters is provide us some of the manipulation of data we have before. We did look a little bit on the fractals and the noise and all this different effects, and we actually can do this. But we can use them directly. However, some manipulation will help us. Some of these properties, manipulation with the data, help us to emphasize some of those parameters. So like right here, we have our natural preview. This is, if I'm right, not a node. So let's go instead this one. We'll go to our fractal, and we'll go get simple fractal, and we'll just replace it. Notice what's happening when you select something and you click, it will replace current select node. So be careful when you do. If you don't want to do this, you just can click anywhere on a screen, double time click, and that will create brand new for you. But again, we'll just need to replace one natural because we don't need it. Our settings, what I want to do, it is increase a little bit or roughness and gain, so we can preview a little bit visible. Our render is not connected, so we cannot see it. Let's go to remove filter and remove constant. We'll just take this node and we'll connect to our color node. As we're connecting to our color node, you can see we change coloring because it's based on a fractal. Let's go to color map and we'll switch to maybe some rainbow colorful so we can preview. You also can preview in our render on a right side how it's look on a cube. So let's go see what we can do with our filters. And interesting things, we have groups that is called environment sensitive. And if we open, you can see it's kind of related to the slope, altitude, and this is very interesting because we can actually map it to our terrain based on our slope, based it on the orientation environment. You can do all of this. For example, melted snow based on the sun and other things. So let's go ahead and we'll just unclick and add altitude. And we'll go connect from our fractal. We'll go set between. So it seems like a little bit change, and the reason is why, because right here we have a mapped effect. So if we can, for example, minimum altitude, and you can preview how it's affecting. So let's go ahead. It says we'll set from 0 to 1. And of course, this is what does, it's change mapped on our altitude. It's changing influence and how it's work. Like for example, 0 influence should have it almost no effect, but will increase influence of the altitude for material, and you can see how it will manage manipulating with this. So let's go minimum altitude. We'll start increasing maybe to the 10, and we're going up, and it should, you can see it's a bring on our cube higher and higher altitude. So right here is our maximum value, and if you look on our map, oops, okay, let's go open preview a little bit. This is our midpoint. So you notice right here, this is where we have it, our 0 point right on the middle. So we can manipulate, we can go down below, which going to the red, green, or higher. So it's meaning with altitude right now, we pushed up, high. So our altitude has changed. We'll go down a little bit more. Right there you can see how it starts adding elements to this. Again, remember, we're using with a fractal. If we're just using simple gradients, we can see manipulation. But I think this way give you some more ideas how you can apply these, for example, to altitude on a grass, like texture and grass. Okay, let me go ahead, open as example. We can go and just select maybe something like something grass look. And we'll go with altitude just a little bit lower so we can preview, and you can see right here we already start having. So this is a great way to make this natural look with altitude. Okay, this is our max, and we're going down. We can also cut from the top, and if we pass over some of this, it should just flip it, and you can see right here it just flip our orientation. So this is one. Again, go ahead and play around with these altitude elements. Same for the slope, will be orientation. Slope won't be very good visible for the cube because we want actual degree on a slope, but we can do this a little bit later, maybe with a terrain, so you can preview. Okay, let's go ahead, lookup table. It's a lot, so we can creating and look. We kind of skipping on this one. It's a little bit more advanced, so let's don't worry about this. The recursive, same, we have it. If we do with waves and other things, let's go kind of hold it. This is one little bit more advanced way, and for now let's don't get too complex in this. The next one is filters, and I used quite a bit often. One, for example, let's go open the filter, and this is our simple curve. So what I was meaning by simple curve, we can go ahead, right click, edit filter, and you can see this is our curve. It starts from -1, and go up to the top. So what's happening if I create one point, and you can create point by double tap left click with your mouse, and we'll just create point and we'll bring this up. Let's go bring even more up, and we're affecting our altitude. You can see how these areas become a little bit higher. So well, with the numbers, actually remember we're receiving from our fractal from 0 to 1. 0 is black, 1 is white. We're receiving this range from 0 to 1. This is passing to our filter, and in our filter we're manipulating. We says let's put all values to the higher point, like majority of them. So you can see right here on a cube we start putting them. If I don't want it, if I can bring back, for example, or you see our transitions, kind of very nice smooth transition. If I don't want it, these smooth transitions, I always can go a little bit more sharp, and you can see right here we're creating our sharp edges, so we don't have this smooth transition because its edge is going sharp. Overall, with filter you can actually isolate or increase contrast and do some other very cool effect with this. For example, if you think it's too much, we can actually bring curve smoother like this, and let's go, you know what, let's go to make a soft curve, so it will be a little bit nicer this way. And there you go, we can adjust right here. Also on the soft, when we change the soft curve, you can notice we have handles right here, which allowed us to rotate and create kind of very fun effects for this, like this. And there you go, now we have it kind of almost funny patterns right here. You can see yellow, and it's right in this area. If we do even more, we should have it even more kind of isolated inside those areas. Same, we can bring this up, create another wave. We should have it more like this waves, kind of almost oil effect you can create on the water with these wavy things. Okay, so this is just a filter. We have it offset, which we can move it, shift it back, forward. Opposite is inverse. We can multiply and divide all these basic mathematical functions. We have partial filter. We also have brightness contrast, which is in some case with you can do all of this with your filter. In a filter you'll just have it as curve as a brightness contrast, absolute, gamma, base, all of this power. This is basic functionality. And if you think you will never use, sometimes you maybe will create very complex kind of effect, and you want says, hey, I want to calculate this in this, how the color will distribute it, so then you're going to use it. The another ones I use it often sometimes, it is clip. And the clip is allowed me to take this and apply to specific area. So let's go ahead right here. We'll select our to the clip. And in the clip you can see we have a lower and a higher area. So we can bring, and it says, hey, clip all this data to this range. And you can see right there how it's now low contrast because we're clipping to this. Of course, you can pop up contrast and pop up brightness. Let's take it down a little bit on the brightness so we can see a little bit more. But preview on this. Clipping allowed us to map it to specific range. And us speaking about mapping, clip is will cut off right here. Map will allow us to map the data. We also have a smooth and non-smooth kind of clip, which is hard edge. Just imagine this transitional. So let's go right now, take with a map, create map. And I like to use that map because here we have our input range and we have an output range. Remember what I said before, we have some expecting only from 0 to 1. But sometimes we have a value maybe provide in different range. For example, if I have it sun that can go up and down, I have it the range, and I want that range, for example, map it. So what if I happen right here, if I have a degrees example, I have it from 0 to 360 degrees. So this will be my input range. Of course, right now it won't work because it's not assigned to the sun position or anything. But let's just give you a general idea. So you can says, okay, this is the input range, but I want to take this value and going them from 0 to 1. For example, if I have it this connecting to luminosity, and I says, hey, if sun going up and down on some angle, right now it's rotational, but I mean if it's going up and down, 180 degrees, then I want my lights on. So I will use it with mapping, and as sun going down, down, and down, the value may be increasing. Of course, you can remember you can change it, so the value will flip and decrease in the opposite. But overall, you can play around with this mapping. Smooth map, similar to maps, you just create the nice small transitions. We also have all this additional quantize, different type of the waves, threshold set, it's where the trigger if it's achieved specifically, and smooth threshold. So an example, this is our threshold, and we can says on the values that in out, and there we have a threshold when it's set and value is passing. So example, we can going to threshold right here. Okay, and we can says, okay, you can see how it's cut off because our threshold set to 0. So if we have it 0 on input, it should a little bit smooth it, and let's say threshold -0.1, it should start giving us values to lower, and you can see where threshold working, and opposite same. Apply to real, you can think when you create again foliage, for example, or specific placement on the ground, and you want more harder kind of edge, or you want to apply threshold to specifically, so you can use it with variations. One thing to notice, if you notice, we have a plus like sign, and here is also we have additional properties that we can manipulate. So what is the interesting things about all of them? That you notice we can connect threshold, we can connect low value and high value from other elements. So we can control those programmatically by connecting to any other things, or we can create another fractal, and we can just always just go have fun and connect those properties or some of them to our connection. So let me actually remove this. I want just threshold connecting to this one, and in this case it will be randomize our threshold based on a fractal. And you can see how easy you can add all this complexity. Again, same with the map. If you notice, we expand the parameters, and we have an input output range, and we can play with these parameters as well. Again, this is not necessary how you're going to use. This is mostly just showing you the our filter parameters that we looked before allowed us to manipulate with the data in specific way. The best way to actually understand how these parameters work is just to start creating something. So go ahead, create a terrain, assign maybe simple fractals, assign maps, and watch how they will affect, how the manipulation with this will work. Okay, so here's a basic overview of the filters. You will get more familiar as we have it more hand-on project. Maybe next time we start working on a landscape, just create landscape, create something very interesting foliage, and try to play with all these nodes, with mapping and all this different positioning, so we have a little bit better understanding how it actually works in a real scenario.